Right, so it's my general view that public relations is the most important form of marketing, and the public relations firms, as a rule, suck. This is a tension, right? On the one hand, sorry, Michael, but payback time is starting about now. And it's a tension. It's a tension for anybody who's involved in any form of business or enterprise. That you need people to talk about you, you need the world to understand what you're doing, and the only way to do that is through the media. And the only way to reach the media, even in this disintermediated age, and even in the world of Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and all the other things we do, is to somehow capture the attention with newsworthy activity. When I came to the UK 9 years ago, I went looking for a PR firm. And I decided, instead of doing it the way one normally does it, which is to interview a bunch of very smooth-talking people who will never deliver, I thought perhaps I could try a different approach. I thought perhaps I should go talk to the customer. So I called up the 4 top business journalists at the 4 largest broadsheets and red tops in the country and asked them, which person in the entire PR industry pissed them off the least? And what amazed me was 1 or 2 names came up again and again. So I called those people and said, would you like me to be your client? And one of them, in short order, made me their client. And I stuck with her for a very long time until she inconveniently enough retired, which is a shame. Because then I found myself adrift with a huge number of investments, a lot of companies that I needed to place with PR, and nobody to turn to except for the 5,000 PR firms in London. And so I asked the person I was working with, who's no longer relevant to my activity, if they could name one person that they would guarantee would deliver me results. Despite my best efforts to dissuade them, they recommended him. So we met, and I thought I'd set him a very simple challenge. I told him that over Christmas, my New Year's resolution was going to be that if you're silent, you're part of the problem. So I decided this year I would no longer be silent. A number of my friends wondered what that would sound like, because historically I viewed myself as relatively silent. So I wrote myself an essay, just as a private individual. I called it the Entrepreneur's Manifesto, and I set them a modest challenge. I said, I am just one person, and I've written something that I think is important to the entire nation, and I want you to somehow find a way for the entire nation to read it, all 3 political parties to respond to it. Boy, was that a dated statement. And I said, please do so on a very, very modest budget, and could you do it in 3 weeks? And I figured if they could do that, it might be worth working with. As it happens, they engaged all 3 political parties. They forced all 3 political parties to respond to it. They got national coverage for it. It became one of the most highly downloaded essays that's been written in the last 6 months. And it forced small business entrepreneurialism and entrepreneurship onto the agenda, which is where I think it belongs. So I owe a huge debt of gratitude, oddly enough. Despite, I usually think if I pay somebody a day's wage, that's gratitude enough. As it happens, I think in this particular instance, I owe more. I think that Michael and Nick are that rare combination of PR people that are effective. And even though that might sound blithe, it's the most uncommon thing in the world. Because the hardest thing in the world is to rise above the noise and get word of mouth. And yet we have consistently, together, in the last 4 months, been able to get word of mouth and extraordinary activity for all of the things I've asked them to engage on. So, on my behalf, thank you very much.